What's up, everybody?
My name is Anthony Irvin.
You beat yourself?
Yeah,
Yeah, CB myself.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm Jim Green.
Don't even need a hit of traffic light.
Okay, good.
Welcome to
One set.
Dude, I've been getting this annoying itching feeling under my armpits from the deodorants I've been trying and using, and I can't seem to find something that works for me.
Have you ever tried maybe like a natural deodorant?
Natural deodorant? No. Are you insane?
No, but I am Wild.
Oh,
Wild is the UK's #1 natural deodorant company that focuses on performance, sustainability, and style.
Their mission is to clean up the bathrooms by leaving it free of ugly, single-use plastic bottles and unnecessary chemicals.
You know why Wild is great? Because it actually works and it's eco-friendly and contains over 98.5% natural ingredients.
They have a fully sustainable design with aluminum cases that last for a lifetime, plus biodegradable, recyclable refills. And you know what's cool? They can actually imprint your name on these aluminum cases for a small additional fee.
Wild is super convenient with flexible subscription options or paying as one-off purchases. And you can customize your order by choosing your case, color, and various scent combinations. I know I have the Ocean Mist, the Fresh Cotton and Sea Salt, and the Orange and Neroli flavors, and they all smell super great. And what's best about them is they don't just wear off immediately, and then all of a sudden you smell like BO.
Yeah, I've been rocking the sandalwood and patchouli scent right now. And again, great scent, lasts like throughout the day, that you're pretty much protected throughout the day. And I also was able to try the mint and aloe vera. Big aloe vera fan, right on point, long lasting, and you can look forward to these cases and scents in a limited edition every month.
Go Wild today with a special discount of 25% off your first order when you get the code ONESETPOD at checkout. Go to wearewild.com and use the code ONESETPOD at checkout and enjoy.
Whoa, 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 whoa. What's up, everybody?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Whoa.
How's everybody doing this week? If you're watching for the first time, my name is Anthony Irvin. I am here with my co-host and best friend, Jim Green. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Just my work situation, the season that we're in now.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming up on, I guess, what would be like a final scenario for like a. I guess in most companies they run like Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4 with like finances and stuff like that, and performance evaluations and things of that nature. My field of work, we are coming up to basically the end of our Q4 is what it would be. So lots going on there.
Mm-hmm.
I have the show coming up in a couple weeks. By the time this comes out, it'll be 2 weeks from tomorrow. And everyone will hear a little bit more about that next week.
Yeah, for sure. I'm looking for it. I'm going to try to, for the first, I can't remember the last time I saw you, other than like the recitals. Can't remember the last time I saw you like being like a dance thing. Maybe the last time you were in Point Blank, maybe like when we would or something.
When we did the Make-A-Wish campaign fundraiser, and we were performing all over the place. I remember you came up and we were at the Field House in Philly.
Yeah,
which was a lot. That was really fun because we had a lot of friends and family come out for that one. Yeah, man, that was 12 years ago now. So
a long time.
Yeah. And like a lot of our like when my family was putting on recitals,
Mm-hmm.
You had gotten married in 2014 in June,
Mm-hmm.
and your anniversary was always falling on like or around
Right in
when our
between the
recitals were.
recital. Yeah.
So I think the last recital you might have seen, I think the last time you saw me dance in person on stage was probably that Fieldhouse performance 12 years ago. Which to
Yeah.
be fair, I haven't, like, other than those recitals, hadn't been on stage other than the backup gigs that I've done, and a lot of them were not local, like they
I
were
was gonna
far.
say, and
So
most of those were not even local. So even if I was gonna try, I would have had to travel, and there was no way I was gonna be able to travel. So,
no, yeah,
when you were saying you were playing local, I'm like, all right. I mean, I don't have anything planned for it yet. So I'm like, good. Let me try to hold this out, and then I tried to see if Jem would try to come with me. So I think we'll try to both go. If not both of us, I think I'm going to definitely try to get out there and support, because you and Cheyenne have been coming to my shows a lot lately. So, I got to definitely give back and support my dude.
well, thank you, and I do appreciate that. And like I said, I never felt a type of way about like, oh, I'm going to see Anthony play again. Once, like, when did he ever try to come out and see me? Because like I said,
Yeah.
there aren't local
Right. Most of them were like,
opportunities like that.
the competitions and,
Mhm.
recitals and everything, where it's not like, oh, like, you're selling tickets, but it's mostly for the kids and parents of those,
Yeah,
divisions. So
organizations. Yeah,
it's
sure.
not like you're selling tickets to just random people for those.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool. I'm looking forward to that. Like I said, it's been a while since I've seen you in that type of atmosphere. Like, instead of just being in like a competition type of level, this is somewhere I haven't even seen you in the backup dance type. I've seen you in the dance crew. I've seen you in the competition, but this will be the first time I've seen you as like a backup dancer.
Yeah, and I mean there is footage out there of it
Mm-hmm.
on the internet. But um the backup dancing world is a completely it's a different type of it's a way different branch of the dance industry compared to like when the crew and I were running around and performing, and we were like we were building the choreography and the content that we were performing ourselves
Mm-hmm.
for us and for the dance community, um, versus the backup dance gig. The choreography caters to the music that the artist is playing, like, and that's a lot of it. And
Mm-hmm.
our artists that we back up for blew up in the late 80s and early 90s, so the dancing is very much catered to that generation.
That generation. Uh-huh.
So I love to do it because I'm on stage and I'm performing for a live audience, and
Mm-hmm.
but I don't get these opportunities on the regular. I think my last one was in Atlantic City, or it was in Wildwood either 2 or 3 years ago. Like
I would say
it's
about 3, because
yeah,
you did like almost like a whole summer of like you were like touring
well, I
a good
did.
bit that summer.
Yeah, I did. I want to say it was 2021 because it was okay. I did the I had the 2 gigs down in Rehoboth over
Mm-hmm.
Memorial Day weekend, and it was the first time that I saw like a live crowd and like nobody was masked after the pandemic.
Yeah.
Super strange, really cool, but
Mm-hmm.
really strange because it was a year and okay, it was like 14 months after the pandemic, like really, like after
Yeah.
2 weeks to flatten the curve
Yeah.
hit.
Even then, even for me, like I played, uh, you know, at your place in August, and that was like a couple months after the pandemic and we were still in masks, and I was like, all right, do I wear a mask while I'm playing? So I had it on my chin, and then I just got shit on in the comments like, dude, either take the mask off or put it back on.
Mhm.
I'm like, that was my first time performing with it on or off. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, if there's people around me, do I flip it back on? But I'm like,
Oh,
is my voice gonna be muffled if I keep it on? But
we were doing open house registrations for the
Yes.
new season,
yeah,
and I was like, dude, come through and play some live music as like we set up tables outside so that people
Yeah.
didn't have to come indoors.
absolutely. And it was cool, and it was definitely cool. I mean, people digged it, but it was like, I think it was my first like legit time playing after the pandemic hit. So
Mhm.
I was like, not nervous, but I'm like, okay, how do I approach this? Do people, are like, if they're coming up, do I put a mask on? Do I kind of just say, okay, I mean, 6 feet, because we were still in that 6 feet social distancing type of thing, but
Yeah. Well, you also, um, okay, I think it had to have been in July that we were doing those registrations because you literally had, you and Jen had Little Tone on August 2nd. So I don't think it was right
yeah, that's
after that
right.
because
So yeah,
you wouldn't have exposed yourself to
yeah,
a
then
group of just
you're right.
random people. So
You're right. Yeah, it had to have been because she would have definitely been like, "Whoopsie, no, you're not playing." So yeah, it had to have been June, July, or something like that. That we were like, hey, because it was like those 2 weeks prior, we were gonna start isolating ourselves and
quarantine. Yeah.
and quarantining ourselves, and then we all know the story.
Yeah.
But that was like the going back to your state. I want to ask you a question with how you were saying like the backup gigs are kind of a whole different brain. Now, it I want to say, like, is that kind of similar to how, like, original music and playing out and playing original music is a whole different ball game than playing in a cover band? Is that kind of like the same like scenario, or is like, do you prepare for it a little? You obviously have to prepare a little bit differently. Like, I guess, like, is the choreography for backup dancing, is that already kind of given to you and you just have to learn the steps, or are you able to, well, I guess if you're backing up for said person, I'm not sure if we can say her name on the pod, but when going to her, she already had her set dances, so you guys have to just learn her dances, so you guys never had to really make up any choreography for her, I assume, right? Or yes?
So I started, a buddy of mine that I danced with in the crew back in 2008. He actually had it like passed off to him from someone else that was
Okay.
doing it. But it was like the choreography was for her like number one hit.
Mhm.
So other than that, choreography, like we use that as a base, but we have added to that song and changed it up in the past 16 years.
Mhm.
The other tracks, I think there might be one that she does almost always as like her lead into her closer. That there was some bass to it, but we have basically overtaken and kind of revamped that one.
Cool.
And I can't really speak to the rest because I think actually, come to think of it, I think there's like one other song where the choreography doesn't feel like my friends work. Like
Mm.
I don't think that it would have been hit. I think that one was also kind of like 50-50, but
Gotcha.
I would say the majority of the tracks that we've done the backup gig for in the past 16 years, we've done the bulk of it. Now again, me and one of my other crew buddies, we were kind of like the backup to the backup dancers, the
Mhm.
assistant to the assistant general manager.
Manager. Yeah.
So like my two friends that were like the go-to backup dancers,
Right.
they basically did all of the choreography for a majority of the songs that we've done.
Mhm.
So it does help that like I danced with them for as long as I did. So I understand how they move and like the rhythm that going into the choreography process. When they're teaching me the movement,
Mhm.
I was able to pick it up pretty quickly. There were definitely I would say now if we're saying like backup choreography versus like there's definitely sections where we're like going in hard.
Mhm.
I, I'd say, let's say for instance, like the set list that we have as of now, which can change
Mhm.
in the next couple weeks. It's been known to happen sometimes.
Right.
The artist and the manager are like, okay, it's a 10-minute set and her closer is 5 minutes. So that's like,
Right.
oh, okay. That's like, you kind of have an idea of like, okay, she's going to do one of her main openers, which the opener that we're doing for this show as of now, is a newer one.
Okay.
And I actually helped with the choreography on that. So
Oh, cool.
it's been 2 to 3 years since I did summer of 2021, and I was in Rehoboth, and then I was down in Tampa, and then out in San Jose, California, and then closed in Wildwood that summer. And I'm pretty sure I haven't done a backup gig since then.
Yeah, and I remember you sending me that photo of the theater or stadium you were in. I was like, "Oh my god, dude,
Yeah.
that is like big time."
Yeah, I've had the Tampa, the Amalie Arena in Tampa. I've done twice now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and then there was an arena in San Antonio that I did, I think in 20, that might have been the same summer actually. Or it was either that or it was the summer of 2019, which was like that was my last stadium
Yeah.
performance before, because I think I did Tampa in maybe fall of 2018, then San Antonio summer of 2019, and then I did the Tampa arena in 2021. We
Mhm.
went from Tampa, and then we did San Jose 2 days later. So it was fly out the next morning,
Mhm.
just get situated, and then I think it's been a few years. I can't even remember like if we did the show, flew out the next morning. We might have flown out early the next morning, gotten to San Jose, and then had to do the gig that night. I think that's what happened.
That sounds pretty familiar. Something you were talking about before. Like you had like some type of thing that kind of just came up at the last minute. Like, oh, okay. Thankfully we got here because it's like tonight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was brutal because like you do the gig, which we performed early, like around 8 or 9 p.m. in Tampa, and
Mhm.
then my friend and I that did both of those shows, we were able to go out in Tampa for a few hours. And again, this is like a year after the pandemic, but we're in Florida, so the mask mandates were very loose.
Yeah.
So it felt like okay, real life is just a thing again. And
Mhm.
then we flew to California, and California was very strict because of how
Totally
heavily,
different.
yeah, one like opposite ends of the spectrum
Mhm.
for sure. Had to wear masks to go into most of the places in San Jose.
Uh-huh.
Had to have our we had to have vaccine cards,
Mhm.
which some of the people, I'm not even going to disclose like exactly who in like
Yeah.
our troop, like definitely got fake vaccines. I'd already vaccinated because I was working with kids and I knew all of my
Yeah.
studio owners wanted us to have them.
Right.
But at any rate, yeah, it was weird. They were like, make sure you bring your vaccine. I'm like, it sits in my wallet. Like, just in case anyone asks for it, I'm just like, boom, it's right here.
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, I forget how we got to. Oh, you were asking about the choreography for, like, is it different doing your own choreo versus doing the backup choreo? I think at this point, like, I'd say 80 to 90% of what we're doing on stage has been choreographed by one of us. But again, we're choreographing under the premise that we're doing backup dancing. So it's not built to be super flashy because
right.
you're not trying to steal the attention away from the artist.
The artist, right. So
right.
you're not trying to be, you're just kind of setting the whole thing. I mean, that person is up there doing their thing. You're just kind of, again, background. It's almost like, for me, it's like your background music at these gigs. I mean, you don't have nobody's really caring about if you're hitting a 10-minute solo, and you're not going to get somebody. You're not going to be having somebody watch somebody do like a 5-minute solo in a bar. Nobody's caring about that. So it took me a show or two to really realize, okay, I'm not getting anybody clapping at my shows anymore. Very rarely am I getting applauses. Depends on the situation. I know you were at my gig this past Friday, and a lot of people were digging everything, and it really just depends on the place and the scenario. If people are really paying attention to you and they like a lot of things you're playing, then you'll get the reception back to it. But I had to learn really quick that, like, original music, you're expecting people to clap after that, and you're like, oh, thank you, appreciate it, blah blah blah, and then set up and talk about the next song. When cover gigs, you're like, song ends, you might get one or two people that are actually listening, clap, and then you're like, okay, next song, come on, let's go, next roll. Don't even talk about, like, oh, the meaning of this song, it was back in the 1960s, written and starred by, like, nobody cares, just play the song. Like,
yeah, I mean, you're going from being a solo artist doing original music, and you are trying to play events where people are coming to see your content.
You're the attraction.
You're the attraction.
Where now it's like, okay, I mean, you can still kind of be because, I mean, the bars still kind of, unless you're more like a cover band, but the bars still promote you as like, hey, come out to this bar because we have this awesome band this weekend.
Sure.
But solo guys, they don't really get that type of recognition unless you're just a really well-named person around here.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, most bars aren't just going to be like, hey, we got this one person playing Saturday night, come on out. Like,
sure.
So it's like, you're okay, background music, unless you got like a group of friends and some supporters that are going to come out and know who you are, unless you're
right.
9 times out of 10 you're just playing for regulars. And you're like, okay, if you play there enough, which I've been playing at these 2 bars enough where I've been able to start getting familiar with the bartenders, and kind of at the one place knowing a few of the regulars that are there almost every time. So now I can be like, hey, how you guys doing? Good to see you again, and start kind of making more relationships. So it's almost like how I was with the Chad's Ford Tavern. I was really personable with a lot of the bartenders and the managers and everybody, because I would see them every week. So now it's like I'm getting back into that with these 2 places. I'm starting to see these regulars almost every month. So I'm like, hey, how you doing? I finally, in my head, got the name of the bartender who was there, because every time I would have to be like, what's your name again? What's your name? Because I'm only seeing them once a month. So now I'm like, okay, it's that. So I'm like, all right, cool. Now I have it in my head, so I won't forget it this time.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the backup gigs that I have done are so spread out a lot of the time. Like I'll do 1 or 2 shows in the matter of a month or two, and then not for another 12 to 18 months, maybe 2 years. In this case, 3.
Yeah.
I think what this is kind of what happened was the artist wanted us to do a huge festival in Cancun.
I do remember something like that going
She
down.
wanted us to do Cancun, and you know what had happened. Well, number one, I didn't have a passport, right?
Yeah.
I think basically it was the travel was going to be taken care of, and like the lodging was going to be taken care of. That's it. But I think we were going to get compensated for performing. Not that much.
Right.
And it was like, okay, I'm going to be in Cancun for 4 days. And like, yeah, I'm like, the travel's going to be there. I was like, I would wind up spending more money just being there.
Yeah, than getting for the compensation. Yeah.
Which happened to me in Vegas. Now we didn't do a huge like venue in Vegas. It was like just like a hall in one of the casinos. I think it was the Rio, but it wasn't like a huge theater that seats 50,000 people. Right. The promoter wound up not doing their job. So we were supposed to do 2 shows in Vegas, and then they cut it to 1, and the turnout was like not great. So I only got paid for 1 show. Right. I was in Vegas for 3 days, and the dancer that I was doing backup with lived in California. So he had to learn all of the choreography off of video footage that I sent him.
Yeah.
So we had the first day when we landed to practice in the hotel room, thinking we're performing the next day and the day after that. And then we got the text, oh yeah, the first show is canceled. And I'm like, I'm literally here in Vegas for 3 days and I'm getting paid for 1 show. I'm losing money out of pocket for even being here.
Exactly.
Right? So knowing that back in, I think it was 2018 when I did that, when I was asked about Cancun, and I was asked like a couple months ahead of time, but again, I didn't have a passport. Not that I don't want one, but I've never had any real reason to need to get one.
Yeah, I just renewed mine, and it took a couple weeks to get it in, and they say especially if you haven't had it before, it can take a good amount of time, a couple weeks, usually a couple months to get it processed and everything to get it back to you. So
yeah, I have looked it up several times for different situations. Cheyenne was supposed to do a trip to Kenya with work, which I think I told you about.
Right. Yeah.
That has since fallen through. But you know, that trip is happening in July, and we were looking back in February. So we were like, okay, 3 months, you should get it. There are definitely options to pay extra to expedite it for quicker.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But it's also like, hey, we need you to get a passport in 2 weeks. Quick answer is it ain't happening, right?
No, not at all.
But again, the Vegas thing happened, and I was like, I'm going to go to Cancun to do a festival that's supposed to be X number of days, thinking of getting paid X number of dollars. I can't go to Cancun and just lose money being there.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. People invest in vacationing and things like that. I didn't have like a fund tucked away that I'm like, oh, perfect, I'm going to just dip into that and I'll be fine. I'll get to go to Cancun. Like it just wasn't like that.
Have you ever wanted to start your podcast but didn't know where to start? The One Set Bros are here to talk to you about Zencastr. Zencastr is the ultimate based podcasting solution and now the all-in-one podcasting platform, making podcasting easy. They've sure made it easy for us to be able to record our podcast and our episodes every week for you guys. Once you've set up your account, you're simply one click away from recording a high-quality podcast with studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. My personal favorite feature is their multi-layer backups, which ensure our recordings are always in the highest quality, even during unstable web connections. And if you thought you needed multiple tools and services for your podcast, Zencastr's all-in-one podcasting platform allows you to create your podcast all in one place and distribute to Spotify, Apple, and other major destinations. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code OneSetPod, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences we do with all our podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story.
I forgot I did a show up in Brooklyn, and I'd been there. It was my second time there. That was back in 2021, like before the Tampa and San Jose trips. But so yeah, I mean, we at that time after the pandemic, that was the thing until I did the Tampa and San Jose gig, and as we were getting ready to leave, like we were outside the arena and I was departing from the artist, and the artist was like, thank you so much for traveling with us. I'm really sorry that I can't pay you for these. But you know, we're just coming off of COVID and everything's really tight. And you know, what else would you be doing other than sitting at home doing nothing? She literally said that to me. And I didn't know that I wasn't getting paid. So when I said to my friend back at the hotel, I was like, did you know about this? And he said, well, yeah, in the group text with like our guy that does the negotiations.
Yeah.
It was the wording that he used that I didn't understand. He said, because of the travel, you guys will be flat. Basically because they were compensating for our travel to Tampa, the lodging in Tampa, the travel to San Jose, and the lodging in San Jose. It was like, you know, you guys can do this if you want to travel. And I think they were like, cool, let's do it. And
yeah, the way you were kind of just like misled by the wording of it, like,
yeah,
I guess saying like, yeah, you guys would be flat, basically saying like you guys would break even with this, like we're at least giving you guys to the point you would break even with it.
That's what it was, and I didn't realize that that's what they meant. So I had, again, I'm living these 3 or 4 days between Tampa and San Jose, spending like leisure money, thinking the money I'd be making doing the performances were just going to cover it. And no, that's not what happened. So I was pretty broke when I got home. And I was like, all right, I mean, I did get to travel and perform these stadiums with like thousands of people, which I only have a handful of those in my life, under my belt.
Would you rather be playing them or watching a YouTube video of it online? Like,
yeah. So, I mean, in the moment, I was just irritated because I didn't understand. And I did the Wildwood show and was like, I'm done. I was like, I'm done because, the pay isn't super great.
Yeah.
So that was my first question when I was asked to do this upcoming one, was like, I mean, we're going back 2 and 3 years ago. The cost of living has jumped insanely,
significantly,
even in the last year. So my buddy's trying to talk me into negotiating higher pay, and I was like, I haven't danced with them in years. So
yeah. So it's definitely hard to kind of just automatically say, hey,
this
come on now.
This is what we want.
Yeah.
I'm more so like, let me do this first one.
Yeah.
It's a half hour from home. Let me get that one in here. It's May, so if they have a bunch of events coming up throughout the summer,
For sure.
I'm like, if I get another opportunity,
Depending on
then
where it is, then yeah,
and,
you can
and
probably negotiate a little something there.
yeah, that's kind of where my head's at with it.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, my my friend that I've asked to do this show, it's his first time doing it. I was nervous about pitching him
Uh-huh.
the gig because I felt like he was going to be like, dude, that's not really. But I mentioned it to him and he was like, um, you know what? Obviously the compensation isn't enticing by any means. He's like, but
Hmm.
for like this first show,
Yeah.
and it's in Philly, it's
Get
close
your
to
feet
home,
wet, you know?
and that's kind of where I am with it. And so yeah, again, it's May. If they have a bunch of events coming up throughout the summer, I'm kind of like, let me see if I can still get on stage and do this. Right?
Yeah. We're not getting any older or
Right.
younger.
Right.
Whatever.
Um,
Age is just a number.
yeah, I definitely did a show in Brooklyn last March. I just realized that was that recent. I thought that one was further behind me. But even that was the one where I told you that I went and like Herman launched me for the flip on stage.
Ah, okay, yeah.
And I definitely bruised my heel.
Yeah, we talked about it last year. That's right. Yeah.
That was last year. And I was talking about how I had my like hair was down to here then.
Yeah.
And my hair was flying around on stage. I'm like, this sucks. This literally sucks. Choking on my hair here. You're eating hair. And then I literally cut my hair that night.
Yeah.
At my buddy's place. But anyway, yeah, that's kind of where I am with that is like, just do this one. There's not, I think there's one new song that I have to learn choreo for. But I also have rehearsals lined up with my guy that's doing the show with me. And he'll pick it all up pretty good. And again, it's, hey, get on stage and see if you still can hang, and then have that conversation anyway. So yeah, that's where we are with that. But yeah, if you do get to come, I will be excited to be able to talk about it on here after the fact, so that I can kind of, I'm sure you and I will like talk and text like after the show, and you'll be like, it was really cool seeing you up there and seeing like exactly what you prefaced me with.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, seeing you in that type of limelight. Limelight to kind of just, because I've seen you in the other two. So this is, and I've only seen like videos of you in this type of atmosphere. So it'll be cool to kind of be present for it and kind of see, because, so what, I guess we can end on this little thing. Like, now you've kind of had like the backup dancing, experience, and then you've done, the dance crew and then competitions. I mean, Xing out competitions, but like dance crew and like being a backup dancer, like what do you prefer? Like if you were to take one road, you're at like the crossroad, but like what would you prefer going down, like being a backup dancer or being, said person in a dance crew?
You mean at this stage of my life?
Yeah, let's say that. I mean,
if I went back, if I went back 15,
or like what would you like more? Be like being a like touring as a backup dancer or touring as like a dance crew member, I guess.
Yeah, the answers would be different now and then, because then like us in the crew, we were together regularly.
Mm-hmm.
So we were all very close with each other. We were all like my one buddy is married with 2 kids now.
Yeah.
My other friend, another one of the dancers, she's married with a little one, and
Yeah.
like everyone in the crew is out just doing
Their thing.
they're living their own lives right now. So the backup gig and opportunities now would be the preference. If like this artist were to say, hey, I have like a lengthy tour where I could use you every Friday and Saturday night for the next 3 to 6 months, I would do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I, like, especially I don't have children where I would have to navigate being away from them like that. I mean, Cheyenne would not be thrilled that I would be gone all the time, but that's something like that. Traveling is something that I have yearned to do since I was, you know, a student in the game as a teenager, right?
Yeah.
So
I would kind of be the same way. I mean, if I were to able to tour as like a touring guitarist at this point, I know I'll never probably do like the touring band type of thing. But if I had the opportunity to like, you know, be a guitarist and tour with, you know, an artist as like their backup guitarist and like tour, you know, a couple months, obviously if my life had a little bit of differences in it, obviously as a family member right now, it would be very difficult for me to do that. But if I didn't have the 2 kids, I would be like, yeah, let's negotiate, because that would be cool.
Yeah, but like that opportunity could come to light for you in 20 years. Like,
yeah.
And realistically, your boys would be grown. And
oh yeah. Yeah,
like that.
It would just have to be like the right place, right time for something like that at this point in my, like how you're saying, like if it was then or now, it would definitely, if I got that opportunity like now, it would be a different answer right now than if it were given to me like 10 years from now.
10, or 10 years ago, right?
10 years ago, it would be like, let's go tomorrow. Like,
my bags are packed already.
My bags are packed. I'm ready, brah. Like,
yeah. I mean, at this point, in my life, my age, you know, touring with a crew, given it would likely be dancers around my age, it's not super realistic. Like the crews that were together and are still together are the ones that are like world renowned, like have won America's Best, the Jabberwockies that are in Vegas. Like they are, a bunch of them are still together because they have $1 million annual contracts in Las Vegas. So literally, like, they're like, okay, we are residents of Las Vegas. We live here now. And their family is like, okay, you're bringing in that kind of money, whatever you say.
That would be a different situation, because like, if you came into the money and then you had a family with that, there's not gonna be like, okay, you're gonna stop this $1 million deal because I mean, if you start a family within that deal, like, you're not gonna have to worry about it. Obviously, you have to have a supportive person behind you that really understands and gets it. But even then, you're just gonna be like, hey, this is what I'm bringing to the table. It's not like I'm going out here, you know, working for pennies. I'm literally getting X amount of money every show, and we're going to be living out here in Vegas. And you don't have to do anything but, you know, just take care of the kids.
Yeah. Make sure they get an education and are healthy, right? Because the money will be there. Different conversation, right? I mean, we watch Hell's Kitchen, like where I think I've seen most of the newer seasons in the last 15 seasons I've seen, because there's some of the earlier seasons that I haven't seen. But these chefs go on and compete nowadays. It's a $250,000 annual contract at whatever the location is that season. So Alex Bailu, who won 2 seasons ago, he was from Virginia or one of the Carolinas, Tennessee maybe, and the residency was in Atlantic City, and he had 3 kids. He uprooted his family, and they are in Atlantic City now, right? Like that's literally like
Come with me.
Literally. That's like, hey, this is just a life-changing opportunity that will provide for the family. That's a different conversation, right? Like, and obviously that's the money talking.
You're literally like, I would literally not be able to just stop and be like, hey, I'm going to be a full-time musician starting tomorrow. I'm just going to quit my job tomorrow and just start booking gigs. Like, that would never happen. That's too much of a risk at this point. If I didn't have said things around me, I'd be like, okay, I just need a life change. I'm quitting my job. I'm going to start dedicating my life to this. If I had nothing else around me, be totally different. I have nothing else to lose. But obviously you just can't just up and make that type of risk. I was watching a TED talk with this live looper that I've been following for years, and he was from Australia, and he and his wife, he was going back and forth from Australia to Nashville for a couple years, and then he eventually, was trying to say, hey, maybe we should move to Nashville, because the music scene in Australia was good, but he said, but if you weren't part of, like, I guess the certain cliques, it was very hard for you to get into the scene the way you wanted to. And he said he seemed like he built a good community in Nashville, so he had worked with said person to rile him up some gigs when he got there, when he officially moved to Nashville. So he and his family, I think he had a 3 or 4 year old, and then at the time his wife was pregnant with their next boy at the time, but they obviously at the point they didn't know. So they get to Nashville with like 10 bags. He's like, yeah, everything was going good until I got there, and all these shows just fell through. So I was in Nashville and no gigs, no income. So rightfully so, I was freaking out. So he had to just go off all his networking that he had built over the couple years that he was just going back and forth from Nashville and just saying, hey, I need a gig. I need gigs. Just get me in wherever you can. And thankfully, he just built himself back up, and, he's living in Nashville with his family now. But, that's like a thing that just came to mind of like a big, like, oh my God moment. Like you were thinking like, let's move our family across the world. And then all of a sudden it's like, you have no sense of income. How does this happen? Like, that would be like oh my God, what did we just get ourselves into?
What happened to the guy?
He's now, a full-time musician doing, work in Nashville. So he's on his feet now.
Okay.
So he's doing good, and his family's good. And, I think it just probably took him a couple months to get back on his feet.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Right? It just like anything. And I mean, I don't know any of how the music scene works in Nashville, but I've seen a couple of videos where you definitely have to earn your stripes down there, and you play a lot of like crappy gigs at first, and then you got to learn to build yourself up in the network, playing for people, playing for this, playing for that, and then traveling and all this other stuff. He was actually in Rehoboth. It's now May 1st as we're taping this, but he was in Rehoboth back in March, and I was like, crap, if I would have known, that would have been cool to actually go see him, because he does live looping like me.
Okay.
So, and he does a lot of like mashups of different artists, and he'll just mash all those songs together. So he's a lot better than me, but I take a lot of ideas and inspiration from him.
Right.
But so I'll have to show you a couple of his videos. But yeah,
Well,
just I saw in that video, and I'm like, wow. I
Yeah.
can only imagine. I'm just thinking like, if that were like me and Jen and the kids, literally freak out session.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Rightfully so with anybody. That's
Yeah.
not even just like saying like, oh, that one person would be, like be in the wrong for freaking out. Like, no. That's like it's one thing. It's one thing you go there by yourself, and then that happens. Like, okay, I just got to dig myself out of this hole. Like, no, you have a family to provide for now.
Yeah, that's two totally different scenarios, man.
Yeah.
For sure.
But again, it's the risk that you hope that you never have to take with that thing. But especially being in that type of line of work with dance and being a musician, a lot of these things are not always set in stone, and things just happen out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like you've had gigs get canceled. I've had plenty of gigs get canceled, and thankfully, I have the other sense of income to work on. But having those gigs get canceled, I'm like, oh well, I was hoping to get that little bit of pay to pay off a bill or do a little bit of something else. But then you're like, oh well, now that's not going to be in. So okay, now I just got to do something else to compensate for that. But I can only imagine if that's like being a full-time musician,
what you do for a living,
and then you can't really rely on having canceled gigs.
Yeah, but it happens.
It
right?
happens.
And you just there are definitely, I'm sure, thousands, millions of artists that it happens to them, and they're like, I needed that to make rent. Right. So,
and I know a good handful or two of full-time musicians that do it full-time, and I am even people around here where they're full-time musicians and they have families. So in the same way, I'm like, it can be done, but you still need a little bit of a breadwinner to kind of have somebody taking a little bit more, because as a musician, especially around here, you're not making a six-figure income around here from being a musician. So you're definitely gonna have to have somewhat of a side hustle with it too.
Yeah.
But
I have a friend that is a dance teacher, but he is also a backup dancer for like modern day artists, and he has done the VMAs. He has performed at the Super Bowl halftime show.
Wow.
He said he wants to get on a podcast, so he would be able to share his stories.
Let's do it.
For sure.
Let's book him.
No, but he has like a clothing line that's like his side hustle, that like, but he has like multiple separate side hustles like that because he has to.
I think you slightly talked, because I remember the clothing line thing you were talking about. So we might have talked about him maybe once or twice on the pod.
I've brought him up how he has done the VMAs. I've definitely mentioned him.
Gotcha.
Before, but yeah, he is.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to him. Yeah.
He is a full-time. He doesn't have like a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 like that gives him that, like, does the health insurance thing for him. But he does well. He hustled.
Yeah.
He hustled and was dancing his ass off for and has been for the last almost 15 years now. He got a later start than I did. And didn't even grow up in like a studio setting. He was self-taught mostly.
Gotcha.
Just interesting story. But yeah, I'll see about getting him on.
Yeah, for sure.
Sometime this season, before the holidays.
Yeah.
The dude's busy. He travels a lot.
It's good. Yeah, for sure.
That's that's his bread and butter. And like I said, he is married, no kids yet, but I think that's an on the horizon situation. But at any rate, Anth, super stoked for this episode because we kind of came into it like, okay, what do we want to talk about today? And I was like, are we gonna run out of stuff? And then it literally just drove right into this. And hey, for all we know, the show that I am going to be performing at is scheduled to be taking place at Rivers Casino in Philadelphia, Saturday, May 18th. It could get canceled. Like, just saying, like, it's not something that I am counting on, but like financially speaking. But I am excited to get my feet wet with doing the backup thing, because like I said, it only happens kind of here and there in a blue moon type situation.
Blue moon.
Blue moon. Did somebody say that? Grab an orange, please. Yeah, but thank you, man. This has been fun. Just because I know we've talked about these things, like these comparisons that we have in the entertainment industry.
I always like picking like the brain of that type of thing to see like how similar, how different kind of things are, and it always comes back to say, like, a lot of the things are pretty similar. There's some smaller differences, but more times out of 10 it's pretty similar in the entertainment industry. We're all striving to get to this certain level, but like we're all having different types of entertainment, but we're all striving to get to the same level.
Yeah, you just got to keep riding those CCH levels, right?
CCH.
Right.
I was thinking of them this week. I'm like, we need to definitely get back on those CCH levels for sure. We'll definitely get more on them on the next episode or two. If you guys haven't heard of them before, we'll definitely catch up more on those, because I think we need to definitely revamp on those to our new listeners.
the CCH level conversation happened after my the gig was actually in the Bronx last year, I believe. And it was last March. So, 14 months ago. That would that show that I did birth the whole CCH level conversation. So I would imagine after this gig, we will revisit the CCH levels so that I can kind of talk about.
Test our levels.
Yeah, definitely. All right, brother.
Yeah, man. I think we had a post earlier last week as well. We have we have a new merch item coming your way to the merch store. So we'll put a link in the description of this episode. Join our mailing list, and you'll be able to get a little impromptu view of the merch item and maybe get your hands on it before everybody can. So sign up to the newsletter, and while you're at it, if you're new to the channel, make sure you're liking and subscribing on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you get your podcast from. Like us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and hit us up on the Gmail, onesetpod@gmail.com. Hit us up with any of your questions, replies. Tell us what you think of the show, anything you would want us to talk about or improve on. We are always looking for the feedback. And thank you for all the listeners who continue to listen, and any new listeners, buddy. It's always fun getting to talk music and dance and all that good stuff. So anything you got to say till we sign off?
Yeah, just all the love, as always, to our listeners and to you, especially, Anth. Thank you so much. I know we are recording this late Wednesday night into Thursday morning. I thank you for being able to be flexible while I had some things going on at home the past couple nights. So thank you for accommodating that.
Absolutely, man.
And being able
to
work
out. It kind of worked out because I was a little busy last night too. So
cool.
So being that we were able to record tonight, it was good. So
awesome.
Thanks, guys. It's been another episode of One Set. We'll see you on the next one.
On to the next one.